When Talking Heads 77 was released in September 1977, it arrived at a pivotal moment in music history, a moment when punk was exploding New York, disco was dominating the airwaves, and rock was at a crossroads. This debut album didn't just stake out new territory, it helped redraw the map entirely. At first glance, Talking Heads might have seemed like another New York band from the CBGB scene, alongside the Ramones and Blondie, but Talking Heads 77 made it clear that they were something else entirely, intellectual, nervy, and rhythmically strange. This wasn't punk in the traditional sense. It was cerebral, it was quirky, and it was, deeply anxious in a way that felt fresh and deeply honest. Musically, the album's minimalism was radical, where other bands chased big, distorted guitars. Talking Heads embraced clean, sharp lines and tight rhythms. Tina Weymouth's bass lines were danceable, but oddly mechanical. You got Chris Francis. Drumming was precise and propulsive. Jerry Harrison's guitar added texture without showboating. And then there was David Byrne, yelping, muttering, shouting, crafting lyrics that felt like an internal dialogue turned into a performance art. Let's take the song Psycho Killer. It's perhaps the most famous track from this album, and for good reason too. It's catchy, it's unsettling, it's funky, but paranoid. The use of French lyrics in the chorus only heightens the feeling that we're hearing from a mindset not quite teetering to reality. That tension between control and chaos became a hallmark for the band, and it all starts right here. But beyond sound and style, Talking Heads 77 helped open the door for a new kind of, artist in rock music. It made space for nerds and outsiders, for people who weren't, interested in, preposterone and machismo and ideas and contradictions and nuances. It made it okay to be awkward, to overthink, to be smart in your songwriting process. Culturally, the album signaled a shift in, who rock music was for. It inspired a wave of, art school bands and post-punk innovators. Groups like Devo, Gang of Four, and later R.E.M. owe a debt to this record. It, also influenced the emergence of the so-called college rock scene in the 1980s and laid groundwork for indie and alternative music decades later. So listening back today, Talking Heads 77 still feels like, a dispatch from the future, precise, odd, and deeply human. It didn't just reflect the alienation of its time, it transformed it into something danceable, something alive. In the end, Talking Heads 77 wasn't just a great debut, it was a manifesto. It told listeners there's more than one way to be a rock band. It can be weird, it can be anxious, you can be smart, and you can still move people literally and emotionally, and that legacy still echoes today. So if you haven't listened to this album, check it out. You're going to love it.